Hey everyone, welcome to another video about my project G35. It's sitting over there because it needs to be in the sun so I can melt the ice off the roof. Because I want to show you all of it today. We're going to be going through a bunch of stuff that's wrong with the car. There isn't actually that much that's wrong with the car, just a few small things. And I mean, admittedly, there are a few bigger things as well. But without further ado, let's get into it. So here's the car right here, and you'll notice that there is an iPad on here. This is my shop iPad, but on the shop iPad is a grand list of everything that's wrong with the car. Let's start at the beginning. So the first thing on the list is something I've already mentioned before, and that is that the hood is rubbing on the fenders here when it opens. Basically, I need to adjust the fenders to get it so that that doesn't happen. And then the fender gaps on pretty much everything are not great, so I need to go over it and try and fix those. I mean, if I actually care. I do care to an extent, but also not too much. I just want it to be very roughly lined up. I just don't want the whole car to fall apart on me. That's all I'm really concerned about. The next one is something else that I mentioned on that video, the last video, is that the grille is wobbly. That's mostly just because it isn't clipped in at all to the lower bumper here, and that's because the bumper itself is also wobbly and as you can see, completely unaligned and cracked. And I think it's missing an under tray. You can see the ground through this. Usually these cars have a full under tray, full plastic under tray, and it's just not there. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about that, if anything. It kind of depends on what the budget allows, to be honest. Something else I found to be kind of funny is that the license plate holder is held on by 2 cable ties. Not really useful. I'll probably end up leaving that, but I might also re-drill a hole in the bumper. We'll see how far I want to go with that. And here's something I don't think I mentioned in the last video, or maybe I didn't go into too much detail, but the headlights have some weirdness. Other than the cloudiness, which I mean I can hopefully get rid of with one of those headlight restoration kits. I have one of those, I've used it a few times on my other car. But they're a bit weird because they like to shut off when you go over bumps. And they kind of flicker as well, which is not great. If anybody has had any experience with that, let me know if it's the ballast or something, but I'm hopeful that it'll just be a loose connection or something like that. I mean, it's not always going to be like that easy, but yeah. Also, I think somebody tried to polish these at one point, or maybe clear coat them, because there's a ridge here. Definitely not supposed to be a ridge there. Okay, on to the back end. So I mentioned this in the past video as well, but this taillight is not aligned and totally wiggly. It was taken out by the previous owner, and then I think they broke a clip or something when they tried to put it back in. I haven't done too much inspection into that, but there were a lot of kind of just shoddy repairs on this car, which I find to be kind of funny, but also a little bit worrying, because it's like, well, what's the state of the rest of the important bits? But we'll get to those soon. I'm going to put a scanner on it today and see if there's anything catastrophically wrong with the engine that I don't know about yet. In the last video I mentioned this under thing here, this diffuser. It's hardly a diffuser, it is an eBay special, and I put up a poll asking people what they thought about it, and I think I'm going to leave it, but I'm going to clean it up. So we are going to take it off, but then we'll put it back on when it becomes a little bit nicer. And also, one thing that's funny is that the exhaust on the left sticks out way less than the exhaust on the right, so something has happened at some point that's tweaked that, and I'm interested to see why. Maybe we'll have to take off the bumper again to figure that out. It's another super cold day, so I'm not gonna stand out here for too long, but these are just the things that I've noticed so far. We'll definitely be finding more as it goes forwards. And as I mentioned before, again, the back bumper is misaligned. This gap here is not supposed to be that big. This taillight gap does not make any sense. And then also something I don't think I mentioned before is that both side skirts have been disconnected, and the clips are not strong enough to put them back in. So yeah, that's something else I need to work on. I mean, there was always deck screws, right? Yeah, I mentioned this before, but I have no idea what this brand is. That sticker is gonna come off quite quickly, but I'm still like, I have no idea where that's from. Probably Amazon or something like that. But anyway, onto the interior. So the obvious things are the interior is pretty gross. You can see there's a lot of crap in the seats, which is just nasty. This is what the cup holder looks like. It's full of change. Got a couple of tokens in there. That's gonna all add to the budget. There's some rips on this thing here. I'm not too concerned about it. There's some rips on that seat as well, and again, it's just kind of gross. I think it's clear that the guy who owned this before didn't really clean it that much. Like my personal car, I drive it every day, but it is not anywhere near this gross. It's taken years to get to this point. And there's also money in the back as well. So yeah, I guess I just got a whole bunch of free change with this car somehow. I don't mind that. Stepping into the car, the radio is garbage. I mentioned that in the last video. This kit, so it is actually supposed to be silver. I was slightly wrong about that. However, it's the wrong silver. This is like a shiny silver. This is a matte silver. And then this is this stuff here on the stock car would be black to match this, which means that, yeah, I mean, it's close, but it's not perfect. I'm probably gonna end up selling this kit. These are worth quite a bit on Amazon. So the heated seats apparently don't work. The switches for them feel quite out of place. They don't feel like they're right at all. Like you can push it down into it if I wanted to, and now it's stuck in there. Like I think whoever put this, when you do this dash kit, you have to take off this panel, and I think whoever put it back on did not do a good job, because now, I mean, now I just got that stuck in there. It's fine though. I don't think I'm actually going to use the heated seats. I'm planning on ripping out most of this stuff anyways, so it's not that big a worry. Oh yeah, something that is cool about this car is it has the DVD. I mean, it has the navigation, so it also has the DVD insert. My personal car does not have that, so it's just an extra glove box here, which is probably more useful these days. But again, this this navigation system, it doesn't work because of the way that they did this, which wasn't good, and so obviously this does not work either. Walking over to the trunk, oh, that's not easy to open. So there's a random receipt in here. I have no idea where that's from, but it's relatively clean. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because of the light, except you can see that they kind of tampered with the car here, because this is where you would take that off to put the headlight or the tail light in, which is kind of funny. And then something weird I noticed, it actually came with this, which I was surprised by, but the panel that's supposed to go over top of the, whoops, but the panel that's supposed to go over top of the jack is just not there. So I don't know why, but it's just not there. I guess they just forgot to put it back on. Oh yeah, something I forgot to mention is that the heater makes noise, which isn't ideal. There's definitely something wrong with it, and that's not great, because I did actually intend on keeping the heat. I'm not going to keep AC long term, but yeah, I was hoping to keep heat, and now it's not working, so we'll probably have to go to the junkyard and get a unit for that, a blower, I guess. Alright, on to the engine. So last time I mentioned this as well, but basically this piece can just kind of come right off. Which is, it's like a secondary air intake piece, and now I can't get it back on, but I'll fix that in a bit. There is also something wrong with this car that is a bit harder to see, as I actually don't know where it is on the transmission side of things. So behind all this junk in here is the starter, and that has some issues apparently. I have not personally had a problem with it yet, but when the owner of this car, or the previous owner I guess, started it up for me, it was making some noise, a bit of grinding, which is not ideal. So something's up with the starter. I may end up having to replace that or realign it or something. So yeah, hopefully it's not too much of an issue. I think that's probably the biggest like worry that I have with this car, as like a bigger project, something that's going to take me a bit more time to do, because you actually have to get underneath it. I obviously don't have a lift, so yeah, that's going to end up being a bit more work for me. Something else that is kind of funny is that the windshield washer fluid bottle is apparently empty. I hope it's not the sensor, because the light for it is on in the dash, and also the light for the tire pressure monitors is on in the dash, but that's mostly just because it's got winter wheels on it. Something else I haven't done yet is check the oil or any of the other fluids. I need to do that to see where this car is at in terms of those things. I don't know when the last oil change was. I don't know when the last brake fluid change was. So obviously I need to do some looking into that to see if there's anything that needs to be done in terms of maintenance. The air filter is looking a little bit dead. It's a little bit wobbly in there, so I'm thinking I'm gonna end up swapping out that entire intake system, hopefully. Again, it's very budget dependent. And then yeah, I don't know about the cooling and all that stuff. We'll have to look at it. Although it doesn't really matter right now because it's bloody freezing outside, as it normally seems to be these days. So something else that's a little bit of an unknown, and so my goal for this car is to have it pass the safety inspection and then actually get it registered and insured and everything before I do anything to it, because I don't think they're going to be too keen if it's fully stripped. But this car doesn't have the Brembo package. I don't know the state of the brakes. I don't know the state of the suspension. The brakes especially are very important. I think it'll pass on these winter wheels, but it's probably not going to pass on bad brakes. So I need to make sure that they're good. Otherwise, we're going to be doing a brake job, and unfortunately, that's going to eat up a lot of my budget. In terms of actual budget, I'll talk about that in a second, but I have a couple ideas on how to spread some things out and hopefully make this car a little bit more interesting for you guys. So that's what I'm gonna talk about next. All right, so I'm in the car. Yeah, it's a little bit warmer in here. It's freezing outside, so that's kind of, well, I'm trying to get inside away from the cold. But again, let's talk about budget. I mean, I have like a ton of change here, but that's not gonna do it. What I'm gonna do here is, obviously the car has to pass the safety inspection here in Ontario to be able to actually drive on the streets, which is very important. So I've barely driven the car because I can't legally. It's not insured, it's not registered, it is not safety inspected. So those are my first big priorities, and in order to get those done, we need especially to have good brakes and good wheels, and good tires, I mean. And other than that, like, it's pretty easy to pass. So it's just really the brakes and tires that I'm worried about. Worst case, I'll just swap them from my other car over here, and then we'll pass quickly and then swap them back. It's not really ethical, but I guess I'll just have to do it if I have to. But I want to do this build in stages. And so for the current situation, I'm going to stick really hard to the $2,000 budget, because I want to show you guys and anybody else out in the world that it's possible to build an interesting car for that much. I mean, it's not going to be crazy fast. It's going to be basically stock, but I think it'll be cool to see what I can do within those constraints and sort of use it as a challenge for myself, and maybe for you guys if you have any ideas on what we can do to make the car ever so slightly faster or more interesting, or whatever it happens to be. And then I mentioned in the past video that my idea is to have it so that any ad revenue and any like live streams I do with donations or something like that, those all go to the budget. That's still gonna happen. So if you wanted to donate to this build or this project, it's definitely still possible. But what I'm going to do is, after we're kind of done with the $2,000 budget stage, then we'll move on to the $2,000 plus stage 2, and that's where we get bolt-on performance parts and then some more interesting things. And then I was thinking as well, depending on how that goes, we can also start to get into stuff like transmission swap, and like, I mean, if the budget gets nuts, then we'll do superchargers and things like that. I mean, as you can see, this car is not that nice an example of a G35. It is very budget oriented. I'm going to put a lot of work into it, but ultimately, like, it just makes more sense to do those kind of very high budget mods and very expensive things like supercharger kits and stuff on a car that's better. So like, if I had a manual transmission rev up engine version of this car, it might have run me $8,000 to $10,000 initially, but then doing a bolt-on kit like that, a supercharger kit, is like $6,000 or $7,000. So doing that on a car like that would be more valuable. That being said, I know a transmission swap on this car doesn't make any sense, but I want to do it anyways, just because I think it would be very interesting. Not many of these cars have been transmission swapped, and I think it would be great to film it in detail for YouTube, for you guys to see, and also for a learning experience for me, and that anybody else who does this in the future can have a reference, like a detailed reference of how to get it done, at least in the slightly modern age, and how expensive it will be, because my goodness, it's going to be pricey. So yeah, we're going to clean out the car now, and I'm going to show you all the random crap that we find in here. I know there's already a bunch of stuff. Just in this glove box alone, there's like hand sanitizer and some kind of seal and like, I don't know, just a bunch of random crap. So let's clean it out and see what we can do with it. So this is all the stuff that I found in the car. We've got a whole bunch of change and I don't know, some headphones and headphone stuff. and then a bunch of receipts from McDonald's, and it just so happened to have a ton of fries in it, but I'm not going to show you those because hopefully next weekend when it's a little bit warmer, we're actually going to vacuum the thing out. I also took out the mats and I took out a bunch of other stuff, so it's all about weight reduction at this point because I got to take away from the car. I can't really add to it. There's no budget to add to it at the moment. But yeah, I need to get rid of all this garbage, see what it actually looks like underneath, and then we'll have an idea of where to go from here. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. This is just a part 2, kind of 1.5 I guess to the last one, just exploring what's wrong with the car and seeing what we could possibly do to it. I'm going to try and read the codes on it and see what else I can do, and then we're going to get ready to prep it for a safety test, which should be fun and kind of expensive because I probably will fail the first time and it's going to cost me $100. I'm not happy about it, but we'll see. See you again next time, guys.